Hello, welcome to the Squarebase Show, where two men wearing hats talk about the old world and their love and excitement for old miniatures, new miniatures, and square bases. Welcome to the best show about old world in the world.
The world!
I'm off the back of a laughing fit because this show is going to be mainly us attacking GTY for not releasing dWARFS, even though obviously it's got nothing to do with him. The release schedule is not him, and instead I believe the release schedule to be primarily dictated by pirates in Yemen.
Yeah, could be. Although, as the sign says on JTY's desk, the buck stops here.
Yeah, it does stop here. But then everyone else like, we live in England, JTY, so like we got no bucks.
Actually, it's not referring to responsibility. It's referring to you could just use $1. Like, could you just chip him a pound? You know, just hook him up.
Just hooking him up.
Give me a buck. Yes.
Some GT. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're your hosts, Val and Rob. And today's show, I run this is going to be unbelievable, but very much like many of your favorite YouTubers, probably like none of them. I've run an event, another one, and then Val has again played more games of the old world. So you could kind of say, not only are we the most fun, engaging, and some would say downright sexy old world show on the internet,
all of the above,
but the most immediately relevant that you could watch. So loads of hot news, which I'm excited to talk about.
So relevant right now, just the peak of relevancy.
Woo!
And not only are we IRL organizers of people who like to play games, but we're virtual organizers of people who like to play games. The SBOT, sir, over 110 people currently signed up and playing.
Triple figure!
Trip dig, pal. I have to say that the gate is now closed. The velvet rope has been clicked over. This is where I hand things over to Rob. So any further communications to get into the SBOT will be forwarded to Rob, who, with his experience as doorman, will politely or impolitely tell you to please leave.
I honestly thought you were taking an absolutely excellent shot there, and you're going to be like, "We'll be forwarded to Rob, where he won't reply." I thought that was, I thought that was like an amazing dig, and I was like, "Yeah, you've done really well there. You set me up excellently. That was excellent." Okay. So.
No. When they go low, I go high. You know.
Good. You know? All right. Okay. 110 people is insane. As we've said,
it is pretty nuts.
As we've said many times on this show, Old World going from strength to strength, in my personal opinion, and still really early days. Can we all just be on board with the fact that it's still really early days? There were 2 events this weekend in the UK. There's one down in London, a one-dayer, and then my event up here in the UK. Oh no, there was 3 events this weekend, sorry. There were 2 one-dayers in the UK and my 2-dayer. So that's like, and I don't know as of yet if we had any more across the world, but more and more events happening as we speak, which is pretty exciting. And then to know that 110 people are playing digitally is wild.
Yes, and also seemingly having a lot of fun. It's been really cool in our patron Discord. I mean, although you can't hop in on the tournament anymore, maybe the wheels fall right off. We'll see. But going forward, I would like to definitely run these on a semi-frequent basis. We'll see how it goes. Probably one in the fall at the very least. So yeah, don't worry, you guys can't hop in there. However, if you do join the Patreon and hop in the Discord, all of the games are being played in public rooms almost all the time. Like this is one of the rare times I've not seen a game recently. And people are getting extra games. It's getting easier to find games as people are getting into the idea of playing. So yeah, you can go watch games. Last night I was playing, and it was great. As often happens, like the audience was I would say politely having welcome conversation about like how like the game was panning out, rules calls we were making, that kind of stuff. So it's been, I don't know, been super nice. Shout out in the comments with your experiences, good or bad, how it's been going so far. Because again, how this one goes will help us determine how we run things in the future.
Yeah, I think the fact that there's so many people getting so many reps in online is really excellent, especially leading into because I've seen some crazy shit. If you don't mind me just talking about this, and no shade thrown on anyone in the world right now, but I think I've just run my 7th square-based event, and with the exception of a couple of hiccups here and there, I don't know if any of it needs changing. As in comp. A lot of people are going to be like, and there are units that are clearly better than other units. Okay, that's a points issue, not a comp issue, and I'm hoping Games Workshop come round to dealing with that. But also, there's armies that are about to pop up. We, for a fact, are going to wax lyrical today about the Empire Gunline, I'm sure. But there are, we got Screamer list, Empire Gunline list, stuff that's popping up. But Trolls, I saw Nomadic War play at the weekend as well.
Dope.
I think Trolls could be a thing, and will be a thing in the future. And you just got to wait for those armies to be built, put on the table, and played. And still, just people using terrain better, understanding their win conditions better, understanding how to play better. I think it's crazy, to see too much comp right now, or people set an event comp up when I'm watching games. I'm like, cool, that seems fine. I don't think that.
So, I'm sorry, I just want to hop in because I want to throw something at you here, which is I've started to notice something bubbling up, and I'd say it's coming from a fairly informed position now. I've seen this now mentioned on Dwellers Below, sister podcast.
He will be here in the UK soon. Playing
the Dwellers are going to be on Jugs before me. Great. Great. And rightly so. I don't know. But you should. Anyway. And also last night I was playing with, I think he said his name was pronounced like Sauce. So Os in the Discord.
Yeah.
And both places and other places I've seen this too, which is there's actually too much comp, Rob. And the comp they're referring to is the rule of 3/6 for us. And I'm wondering, at this point, because we have, now that we have so much under our belt, and again, we've committed to not, revisiting our stuff until the fall. But what are your thoughts on rule of 3 where we stand right now? Do you think it's something that needs to stay?
I think some people I know that some of my friends want to take more Minotaurs than they can with the rule of 3, and I think what it's done is it's created. I think created. That's not true. It's limited a very specific meta, and I don't think I have seen anything untoward about that. I haven't seen anyone say, "Yeah, I feel really restricted by that." I know people do. There are some little fun builds. Is it necessary for comp? Does the rule of 3, was the initial fears, what were our initial fears that if you have multiple MSU of a million things going to be a problem? Maybe that wasn't that was a bit of a Y2K. Maybe it wasn't a bigger deal as we maybe thought it would be. So I don't think. I'm not backpedaling. I'm not saying that I was a big proponent of it. I'm just saying that seemed fine to me. I'm very comfortable with that. Let's go. And I don't know why you would take it off. I think the only reason you take it off, a bit more creativity, let people build a few more different fun armies. And I see that as being fine. Honestly.
Yeah, and I think the gamer argument for removing it is the most obvious counter to very powerful single model units is to have them deal with too many units, right?
Yeah.
And so the result, if in the food chain we took out a natural predator of a Death Star, which is essentially what a dragon is.
Yeah.
A character on a dragon is essentially a Death Star. It's very durable, has a lot of output. It's a lot of points. It's just one model, and so a very simple counter to that is run as many units as you can, and they're overwhelmed. I just wanted to say out loud though that, and this is this might be annoying to some, but especially coming from the very beginning. I think for me, the rule of 3/6, because straight rule of 3 I think is bad. But 3/6, so you don't have, you're not as restricted on core, was really about aesthetics for me, and not even for
I quoted this.
Really?
Yeah, like I quoted this the other day. To what game system was I talking about? I was talking about something which the problems come out, and I was like, that's the thing I took away from Val. I was like, it's not even the impact of rule of 3 changing the game. It's the thing that you said where you were like, it's the perception. If we get this concept that old world, like, so 10th edition, 40k, the only thing I really know about it, if I'm honest, is at launch, Eldar had like a 75% win rate.
Yeah.
Because that's all anyone could talk about. And now someone asked me about 40k, I'm like, is there still a 70% win rate Eldar? They've been like, no, they've had like a 40% win rate for like 6 months. I'm like, but you're right. It was that perception. It was that perception, right? That was a big deal. And I take, that's the lesson I've learned from you and I've taken away. I think that's really, really, really helpful. Because I pushed back on that initially.
Yeah, and I think rightly so. I think your comments were totally fair. But I think there's a thing in Warhammer where people get offended by things. And they're not people who I necessarily am sympathetic with, but I think in general, dragons being powerful, you want, like, in the ludonarrative mindset of people, dragons being powerful is something that's more palatable and will look like a small army with a big dragon probably fits the narrative better than a bunch of single entity units or a bunch of small units. Like that, people would maybe sneer at that a bit more. And I think so much of engaging players is to try and have a game that sort of meets their expectations. And I think out of the box, not every list would have gone extremely MSU, but they would have been there and they would have been the meme. You know what I mean? Apparently I managed to convert someone on this, and I just wanted to be clear. I think that was the rationale behind it. I do wonder, now that people have played the game so much more, I wonder how necessary it is. But I don't think that's something that I feel an urgency to swap out of. Certainly at this point. And I am genuinely curious, because they said out of the gate that it's not just going to be about updates, FAQs, errata, which, by the way, there's rumblings that there might be another FAQ/errata coming along, like imminent, like I'm not going to say like imminently, but like I feel like sooner than you might think. And
that is hot news. That's hot news. I love that.
So I'm curious to know what could have motivated that, but or maybe that's completely wrong. I don't know. And also they did say that they would be balancing it, and I don't know if it's certainly never going to be as extreme as something like 40K's balancing schedule, but there will be an attempt to change points levels. Though there will be, and who knows? I mean, we've seen in the past Games Workshop.
Sorry, you carry on. I was just going to say, right now, just a man holding 3 dragon ogres, crying, just crying. It's like, no.
Well, or full rules changes have happened. Core mechanics change in games. There are probably places where literal mechanics erratas and changes, and we started to see it a little tiny bit in the last FAQ. The first FAQ I don't think had an errata, despite many rulings that were fundamentally changing how rules read and worked. They weren't FAQs; they were errata. So I think for folks out there who are like, this game is permabusted or whatever, they're completely wrong. This game can change dramatically from here on out, which is, I find, exciting, especially if they let it marinate a little bit in its own juices. And of course, there's the rumor you've mentioned a few times on the show of a potential General's Handbook or Munitorum manual style book for this, which would be great. Maybe new missions. So there's so much stuff out there that it's exciting, and I think it allows me to be willing to not be reactionary on the state of the meta right now, which is, despite its warts, and it has them, guys. Like, I hope you don't get the idea that we're like apologists and rose tinted glasses. the game is dumb in many ways in how it's worded and all kinds of things. But fundamentally, when you get it on the table and you play it, it is so much fun. And I think that's why we're massive fanboys.
Yeah, a massive fanboy. Also, like, one of the things I took away from this weekend as well, and I tried to, like, and I've always enjoyed, when I got into Warhammer Fantasy Battle back in the day, the thing that I enjoyed as someone who, like, played it, enjoyed it, had a great time, cried about getting purple sunned on my ogres all the time, and then immediately switched to buying another army, and then another army, and another army, was
and all of them were initiative 2 or less.
I got an Empire army, actually.
Initiative 3, boy, howdy, all right.
All right, Governor. On fast. I enjoyed the meta state so much, and I enjoyed, like, I was talking to Richie, we'll talk about Richie in a moment, because he plays his dwarfs this weekend, and he's just an exemplar of the hobby. But, you know, Richie was like, yeah, my army feels really good if Troll War becomes a thing, because it's all flaming shots, because he's playing dwarfs. But I love the meta game that exists as well, and sometimes that does mean that you end up with that rough matchup, which was super rough, obviously, in, you know, like Val's joke, you know, playing Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and someone purple, some Initiative 1 models, it sucked ass. And then you buy another, buy another Initiative 1 army, you're like, why am I a moron?
No, I'll get it right again. Yeah. Lizard men. What's I mean, these guys look fast. Saurus Warrior. Let's just see. One. And for those of you at home who don't recall Purple Sun, it was an initiative check. So ogres, dwarves, and lizard men. Oh, well, not the skinks, but lizard men, the sauruses, all died essentially unless you rolled a 6 when they encountered a purple. Sorry, unless you rolled a 1 when you encountered a Purple Sun. So these were not great counters to one of the most dominant spells in the meta. And the fact that a lot of people were cultivating 6 dice skills at the time. Let's not forget how good people got at rolling dice.
I'll never forget. I remind myself daily with my Twitter brain rot. But what was I trying to say? I was saying the metagame is really fascinating. And actually, shout out to Games Workshop, or GTY specifically, the SDS people, more importantly, is that actually we're looking like we're going to get a really thrilling metagame in the next few years, because obviously, I mean, I think we all know that the Orcs and Goblins book was a bit of a triumph. You know, you got Nomadic War, you got yourself...
There's a lot of love and tenderness in that book, I gotta say
as well. But, like, you know, you still got fanatics running around being crazy fucks.
Yes,
that's a build which doesn't require the other 2 builds. Nomadic War is different, Troll War is different. Mortuary Cults feels like it's a bit of a standout from Tomb Kings as an example. But that, you know, not only is it the army, but there's the different playstyles of the army, I think really adds to the meta game, and actually it's more interesting than it looks off the tabletop. Like, there's a lot more like, having looked at the guys playing over the past few weekends, there's so many different styles, and then some people are just raw dogging it. They're just like, how many guns can I take? Like, you know, they're just like, so, like, they're just absolutely on the top, that tier where they're like, cool, I'm just going to do the worst thing I can do. You know, how many magicians can I take? Like, I still have not seen anyone replicate James Ramsey's list, which is really shocking to me, which was his Wood Elf list with the triple battle magic casters, all the shooting. That felt like that was super strong. And the fact that I'm not seeing, like, everyone's like, go on.
Rob, I have 2 army lists I've been working on. One of them is all of the guns.
Okay.
And the second list is most of the guns and some wizards. So, you know, like some of us out here, we're trying. Okay. So yeah, and there's a lot, like you say, there's a lot of different ways that you can take things. But ultimately there are bugaboos, like very tanky things with incredible damage output. That's a significant skewing thing. And it's interesting, like, so there's the game perspective too, which is like the meta is becoming quite fascinating and a lot of fun. And again, in playing people, especially in the online worlds, who can play this game a lot, it's really interesting to see just how like, for example, the guy I was playing last night, like, he had incredible command of the rules. Like, I was embarrassing, as always. But he was just so awesome. And he's a local. I made a friend last night, guys. Like, he's like, he may not know this, but like he's my friend now, because he's he's in Toronto. He's going to be at the X Planet event. Hey Lionel, still tickets available. RTT coming up on Saturday. Mississauga, come on out. It's great. We're filling up. But he's going to be out there. And all I wanted to say was like he had great command of the rules, and yet, when I fled with my skirmishers through one of my formed up units, he was like, panic check. And I was like, actually, I'm pretty sure they don't panic. I think skirmishers don't cause panic. It's like one of the rules I had read that day. And he's like, yeah, I learned something. And this is a person who, like, when we were resolving some like really tricky dicky like post-combat moves where things are bumping into each other, or like really complicated charges where like there's incidental contact. Like I learned so much. Also, he blew my mind about, like light and hard cover last night, and just how much more frequently it comes up than I think I ever appreciated, because I've never had to shoot something really. Like there were all of these things that came out, and yet there was one thing that he was like, I didn't know that. And at the end of the game, he mentioned that like he's loving it because it's just so deep. Like because of all of the complexity, there's just a lot going on that you can really get lost in, and the meta will come from there. I think where like the advanced class for JTY comes in is now taking that deep game and getting it to maybe getting these rules to shape a meta game that looks a little bit more like a rank and flank style game. You know what I mean? Like that can get where like bricks of infantry and like stuff that I think a lot of us have the warm feels for when we imagine it has a little bit more potency on the table. And I think that is something that can totally happen with, a rules designer who has been allowed to maybe do this on the clock. I mean, like maybe he's been maybe he's allowed to use one of his two company smoke breaks to work on Old World now, and like that would be a tremendous asset.
I agree. I think the any points changes, and also we should do a show next week about the things we want to see like changed or shaken.
That has been on the tip of my tongue for some time now.
That would be great. Let's do that. Let's do that next week. That would be so fun. But yeah, like the meta, like again. I've said this last week, and I say it again because everyone is out there. I'm sure the online keyboard warriors know everything. Like in a vacuum, they're the perfect soldiers and the perfect generals because they've won every game they've ever played. Yet they've never played a game. And sure, you can't lose if you don't play, but you have to go out there and play. And my experiences of running a bunch of events now is that people are still learning so much. Mm-hmm. People are still like taking information in so much. They're learning massive things. There's some big change ups. Like people are still absorbing information. And then even some of like the people who were at like my first event, I was speaking to some of them at the weekend because they came back. I was like, Andy, Rebecca, Connor, Richie, all these people have played like more than one GT now at my place, but also 3 of those are my club mates. Oscar's played a bunch. Like, we're still learning. We're like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's a good fact. Exactly how can I make this work? Pip, like, I think maybe I forgot it, but Pip had some skinks and he did a pillar of flame down his own skink line in some cannons. And I was like, I forgot you could do that. That's so good. He was
he just torched his own skinks to get to the cannon?
Yeah. He used
ruthless.
How good is that? Right?
It's all part of the plan.
All
part of the great plan.
All part of the
I mean, the skinks understood what was up.
They knew. They were holding it above their head, pushing it forward.
I mean, I think this is so relevant, I think, to the game I played just last night. Do you mind if maybe I do a little brief recap of the game?
Please
and I sent you a screen cap last night, and we can use that as just the final, because I think this is just a demonstrative lesson for those of you guys out there. Because, again, I immediately called Oz Mr. Old World Wide because he semi-bragged to me that he may have played more games of Old World than anyone out there. He's been repping on TTS, and recently he's started using Warhol since launch. Last night. This is who I played last night. He's got quote hundreds of games under his belt, and I believe him. He's very active in one of the Warhammer Fantasy old discords, and so like they've been crushing games, which is cool. And so I was playing last night. I was playing an Empire Gunline inspired by your friend and TSN regular on the Discord. Jack is on Discord. He's Morpheus, and I wanted someone to give me permission to run all the guns, and he did it. He's done it in real life. I've been doing it virtually, and so I'm running. Basically, I had 2 cannons, I had 2 Hellblasters, I had 2 mortars. Sorry, 3 cannons, 2 Hellblasters, 2 mortars, 2 units of Outriders, 3 units of crossbowmen. And 6 minimum units of archers. So like just a list that hopefully is going to use the archers to speed bump, keep people away, and then I'm going to blast them. And that's what was going on. I asked Oz to run, something just on the nose meta, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just run a Warriors of Chaos net list at you." So he came at me with a big chaos guy on a dragon. It was I think he was on a 2-up. 5-up, and he had magic resistance -2 from the collar. He ran a caster on a chariot with battle magic. He had 4 units of I was doing so well. Not chosen. Oh no, the good core chose for. Well, he had 2 units of like 4 or 5 dragon ogres, and then but his core were the guys with the random attacks.
Yes.
Is possessed? No.
Yeah, possessed.
Is possessed. Anyway, you guys know what I mean. I'm on a Warhammer podcast. And then Forsaken. Thank you. Totally, that came to us. Someone out there didn't just type that to us so that we knew the word.
Correct.
So you had Forsaken, Dragon Ogres, a big dragon, and a badass caster who also had the blow up doll, and which makes it easier to dispel. So all that is to say that I aced his dragon.
Oh, really?
In one turn of shooting. It was perhaps the greatest demonstration of Imperial firepower in some time. And the first time I vanquished a dragon, it was great for my self-esteem. It was awesome. Immediately after that, I jacked up and destroyed his caster. And in my head, I'm like, maybe we should re-rack. And I jokingly suggested that. And he's like, oh, no, man, you're playing with guns. No. This game ain't over. Because he still had a bunch of Forsaken, and he still had Dragon Ogres. And can you roll the tape? Can you show that last screen cap?
Yeah, well, there you
go. So if it's on the screen right now, this is how the game ended. And essentially his point was, against the gun line, he knew that although it sucks that he lost his 2 fun pieces, he knew he still had lots of pressure. He still had tons of combat strength that he was going to get across, and they were going to get into the line of guns. And this is where it ended. It ended with it's either, I can't actually see it, I'm not watching, but 4 or 5 Dragon Ogres.
4.
4 that had gotten to the hill where all my artillery was. They had munched through things, and that was the 3rd, because again, when you're all bunched up, this is what can happen. That was the 3rd overrun he had done. And so much Warhammer shit had happened in the interim here. Like things had panicked and rallied like 1 inch from the table. Like wheels came in. And like, units got blocked by other units. Like some of his Forsakens got jammed up just because of how combat resolved and things fled. Like it was wild pandemonium at the end of the gun line. And this was after he rolled 4 inches for his last overrun. His Dragon Ogres came within a hair of just eating everyone else that was left alive. And he did wind up losing, but only because Warhammer's awesome. And dice were going both way, like things were swinging. It was thrilling, but he knew, and this is why I wanted to bring this up as illustrative. He knew to be like, this game isn't over. The game isn't even close to over. Good job. You killed my 2 things. That's cool. He knew too that like, honestly, like I was rolling hot fire and he rolled shit. Like it was 100%. Like we play that game 10 times. I don't know how many times I kill both of those things that quickly, if at all. But he knew that, like, despite all of that, and despite the fact that he was still running into so many guns, that he had more than a puncher's chance. Like, I probably wasn't even winning, even though I had, like, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't probably, like he knew that, like, that game was, you play it out. And I think that's an example of experience, and the fact that, he's seen a lot of games, and it wasn't a time to fold it. whereas I think some people might. I know I might have. Like if I was on the other side of the table, I might have thought to myself, well, GG.
Yeah.
So like that's the power of continuing to play. And I will say, like, oh man, I'm so excited that it's hard for me to remember some of the moments. But like in those final, like his turns were taking like, and I felt bad because he didn't make a comment. I don't know if he was being pointed, but I was taking a hell of a long time trying to figure out how to position. And Morpheus definitely, he says it's more like Warhammer chess when you're playing a gun line, because you have to be positioned so carefully to avoid things like overruns, to avoid various units from getting tied up. You actually have to try and think at least a turn ahead, which is just not where I live. I'm here now. Okay? I'm barely here. I'm probably a few minutes ago and thinking about butterflies. So like it's very, very challenging for me. But it was so much fun. And like so many Warhammer things happened. I should have taken notes. Someone commented last week that I should take notes after the game. You're absolutely right. I failed you.
But you haven't. You haven't listened. You were right. Fuck you.
I will commit to actually taking some notes after my games, guys, so that I can tell you about some of the cool moments. Because it was
one
great.
of the things I learned from Warhammer Fantasy Battle early on was to not change your list for a while. Not still Mania, obviously that's nonsense. But like was to not change your list for a while, because like you just like luck goes bad, it doesn't go right, like, you know, and things change quite drastically. Interestingly, Jack, who you're talking about, who's ran Empire last week and also ran Empire this week, I recorded one of his games over the weekend.
He said his round 4 was amazing. He really wanted me to watch his round 4 matchup that was recorded.
That's the one I recorded. Yeah. Did I record his round 3 or was round 4? I can't remember.
You said it was round 4. I don't know if he knows what day it is.
It was round 4, because basically every gun didn't work like consistently,
okay.
And then it didn't shut down as quickly as you would think. Even like not killing stuff. Like I haven't seen Jack ever win the first turn yet to like be able to shoot all his guns first, then go again. But it kind of brings up an interesting point that, again, kind of like this evolving conversation about the game state is at the beginning of, the old world, when we were making videos at the start, and like, we were very much like not really sure about war machines, but, those war machines, like you said, like that dragon's there, that dragon's not there. And sure, you lost the match, but did you think there was an opportunity?
I won.
Oh, you won. Sorry.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Hair of my teeth, but I did win. Yes.
Sorry. Well, so then do you think that, like, do you think maybe we were a little bit too keen on the maybe war machine? Because I always was like, these war machines seem good to me. What do you think?
I think war machines, if you like Warhammer, like, and it's funny, I always gravitate to things that I am not emotionally mature enough to handle.
What? Let me just clip that.
But straight up, like I'm coming away like there's another version of that game where I misfire, or like I bounce the cannonballs in the dirt, and that happens all in a row, and like that's the way the dice spike instead, or I hit and I roll a 1 to wound, roll a 1 to wound, roll a 1 to wound, and again it's kind of swinging. I think what's different is we're coming from a frame of mind where 1 or 2 war machines were like match defining, like an Empire list in 8th edition fantasy. 2 cannons was enough to just keep monsters out of the meta. You know what I mean? Like, and the same thing goes, for dwarves. You didn't need to bring a lot of them just because of how resiliency worked. In like defense worked in previous editions. They were just the top of the food chain. Now I do think, and this is where my idea on like not my idea, but like my thought about it came from, which is you're allowed to bring a lot of them, like in the structure of the army lists. How many folks out there have really pushed the envelope with leaning into them? Because when they do connect, like a Hellblaster is serious business. Like it's strength 5. Has the it's -1 AP with Armor Bane 2, and it has the upper band of 30 shots. I don't know quite what the average dice would be on a Hellblaster, but it 15-ish. I'm just gonna guess. Like it's a lot of shots, and you have the ability to buff its ballistic skill, so it's ballistical shooting. But again, potentially the ability to point at something and just turn it to mist. And so like, in order to smooth out the potential of it blowing up or doing something shitty or whatever, bringing a lot of them maybe will give you more potential to do that damage. But also just on the raw averages, when you have something that has 3 saves and you've only done 1 potentially high damage wound, like some of the dragons, I was facing a dragon with 2 saves. Like it's also possible to have a ward and a regen. Maybe that third 5-up sticks. And suddenly that's gone. So if you're doing this on a spreadsheet, I think that it's kind of obvious that the odds of something not bad happening to an individual war machine aren't great. Like the odds of something bad happening to it while it's shooting are pretty good. And then the odds of the save on those high value targets being successful is also pretty good, which means you would need, if you're doing Math Hammer, a lot of wounds from your one-shot weapon to potentially even get one through, right?
Yeah.
That's where I think the criticism of it comes from. And I think it's accurate. However, too, because the meta right now assumes there is no war machines, it assumes that these things aren't out there. Maybe you're not seeing people who see the value of 3 saves. Maybe you're seeing less people like giving any defense. Like I've never given a save to my casters. So there is, maybe because it's so far the other way, maybe there's room if you over focus on shooting. And so maybe there's hope for things like the type of stuff that Jack and Morpheus was running, and maybe some different kinds of dwarf builds, if that's what you're into. And then what's cool, I think also, sorry, I was droning, but I have one last thing to drone. What's cool is that because they're not super OP though, that gunline game was fucking sweaty. You know what I mean? So like in the old days, if I showed up like that, I would have just evaporated something that was running at me, like unprotected. But yesterday it turned into this awesome game. So like underpowered war machines kind of make them fun, because it's like being in a Nerf fight, but there's a dragon facing you.
Yeah, I think there's also, I think like you said, like there's like people aren't building things to go hunt war machines in their list because there's no war machines. So like they haven't got to put that in. People aren't being like, oh, I need to be extra fast with my army because there's no reason for me to run across the board and be extra fast. I'd rather be extra tough or whatever that situation is. And I think that's been quite interesting. And again, that kind of rock, paper, scissors, like mechanic that's out there, to me strikes as a like much more interesting game state, and a game state that doesn't require as much like fine tuning as maybe it probably just requires more fine tuning than overarching changes, because I think we're still in the process of discovery. And I think that that's what everyone needs to be really conscious of. Sure, the Screamer list that we talked about last week does feel strong. Would there be a change that I make? Absolutely. I'd make it you can't scream into combat. But like on the other side,
probably out of combat would be the fact that you can. I think you can also scream adjacently, but yeah, which is wild.
None of those things. Whatever shooting restrictions are is what I do. So it's interesting. So is there anything you change about the list, or are you now just addicted to gun lines? How do you feel?
I'm a guy who loves experts. I really like going to school on other people's experience, and I mean that's where this list originally came from. Like it's very, very similar to one that was run again by Morpheus in the Patreon, and but the and we'll get into this maybe on the deep dive as because I think we originally intended an Empire deep dive today, but we're vamping. Basically the comment that Os made was just like with Empire Core, it's really hard to figure out what to do with your core, and you'll see that I've seen this in Morpheus's evolution of his list from one week to the next, and I think Os just suggested that instead of having any of the missile troops, which are fun, so having the crossbowmen with the Hochland long rifle, which is there for a specific reason. Morpheus had put those in there to like deal with things like Sisters of the Thorn, units that have like a champion that like gives the unit a good ability that you can punk with a Hochland long rifle. Actually, I never see wood elves. I still haven't seen wood elves anywhere ever.
Which is
strange.
Crazy.
Where are they?
Where
are you, wood elves? Where are you? There's forests all over the place. I know you're out there.
They're so good. Do you know one of the things that really struck me this weekend? So at all of my events, I always play forests. So there's 2 buildings, there's 2 hills, there's 2 forests. That's the pack. Go on to the honestwargamer.com. You can see the square-based stuff. Maybe to be relocated to squarebase.com soon. We'll sort that out at some point.
Or we'll just redirect squarebase.com to it. But yes.
Yeah, there we go.
If that's not already happening, I think that already happened. Continue. Sorry, we ADHD'd. Go on.
But I don't know now.
Wood elves. There's forests in each one.
So forests. Speak to any of the players at my events. They hate that I have made all the forests be deadly. Hate it. And every time they're like, all my guys died to the forest, and I'm like, why are you going through the forest? Like I saw a Vampire Counts game where I can't remember who they were playing against, but the Vampire Counts had lost more models to Forest than they'd lost to their opponent at that point. And similarly, I also saw is it Ed playing with his nomadic war, and again he like charged in with 10, 12 big beefy boar boys, and then boom. He lost 4 of them on the charge, and he was he was pissed.
So that's fantasy, baby. Like the dangerous terrain check is such a fantasy thing, especially when you roll like a low amount of them, and it's just like, 5 ones, sick,
cool. But that has been the thing that's been, I think, very impactful in the games that I've seen on the tabletop. Like very, very impactful. And actually, Wood Elves able to bring another forest. I'm like, what the fuck is like? Why isn't that more common? In my personal opinion. So yeah, that's something I've seen that's interesting. The gunline thing I think is interesting as well. I'd be quite interested in to do another terrain pack, and in addition to that, like do another set of maps. I'd really quite like there to be a B set, which I think is something I'm going to do after I'm away in Amsterdam in 2 weeks' time, because I'm at the Age of Sigmar World Championships. Age
of Sigmar World.
But I would have much preferred to have been at Falcon this weekend. That would have been far more enjoyable. Yeah, but anyway.
Do you see his maybe the best GT logo in GT history?
No, I didn't see it. Did you see it?
Yeah, it's sick, man. I actually asked him for I was like, hey, can I get a t-shirt? Because I genuinely would wear it. Because it just looks awesome.
Okay.
Falcon, I'm just gonna take credit. We came up with Falcon on a Jason show at some point. I'm just gonna say that we made it up. But yeah, like fantastic logo, and looked like he had a lot of fun. And AOS was there. No Old World yet.
No Old World yet, but soon, I'm sure. And that's a yearly event that happens in not the Maritimes in Canada. It's in the Maritimes.
It's Moncton, New Brunswick. And
if any of you users are over there,
the Roost for Peter the Falcon Colosimo, longtime dear friend, and it's something I think he's in his 2nd year now.
Yeah.
It looked like he grew. It just looked like a really nice time. The family photo at the end was really nice. I like it when GTs take a picture at the end of everybody. It's nice.
That is nice. I should do that more.
It's nice.
Well, yeah. So, it is more. But the big takeaway for me is, we've talked about the Empire.
Wood elves.
I'd like to hear
gun
more,
lines.
More woods. Wood elves would be more interesting in the meta. We're kind of moving all over the shop here, so I want to make sure that we've completely covered your thoughts about running the Empire stuff. You're going to run it more, do you think? And we're also going to do a deep dive soon, because I think the Empire gunline is quite an interesting kind of like, actually, a war machine's as bad as we think. Actually, is there more to that? Gunlines in of themselves, they kind of just immediately moved away. What do we think?
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably keep running it throughout the week. I'll probably run it at Lionel's RTT, and then lists are due for the SBOT, the big show. The actual tournament starts next week on Monday. Lists are due on Saturday.
Okay.
So I think I'll run it and I'll see, because I need to experience the feel bads with this list, and also I need to see if I can actually hack it with because again my brain gets hot. It gets hot. It's not just because of the hats, and that might be a bit annoying for my opponent. Whereas with the Orcs and Gobos, it's a little more checkers for me. Even though I'm not like I haven't been Rain Manning my way through games, but like there's a lot more. It's a lot more of a safety net with the orcs and goblins. Like there's a lot more things that can go right, rather than some very key things that can definitely go wrong. So yeah. So I think I'll keep running Empire because actually I love just
love Empire.
I root for the humans, you know, like I love humans except for you know the aristocratic Bretonians. Never had much love from them. But I do often gravitate to them. I did in 8th edition fantasy. They were my most played event army were Empire, and a lot of it was trying to do janky stuff and having fun with it. And I think I did have a ton of fun with it. It went wrong a lot, but when it went right, it was so Warhammery and just delightful. So yes, the short answer to your short question that turned into a long answer would be yes, I would like to keep trying Empire for the remainder of the week at least, and we'll see if they are my SBOT whip. And then the real big show, Capital City Bloodbath, tickets on sale, link in the description. Best tournament in Canada, Old World, baby, in August.
Again, I may just get a last-minute ticket, be there for 3 days and play. So
that'd be awesome.
I will decide the day before probably, and then off I go. But and genuinely might be a thing. What was I going to say? I had an event this weekend, and just kind of buddying on. Before I get to that, buddying off the thought that you just had, I would like to see some new missions. Would be kind of my hot take. I don't think I want to see secondaries in just yet. And I do like the rock, paper, scissors mechanics, but of the meta game. I think that's really fun. The takeaway I got from this weekend is that I like the terrain map. So I think I'm going to just do another terrain map set, like a B set. And I think I'd like to maybe like at least look at the rules that there is for like the narrative stuff that's out there as well. Like not because I necessarily want to integrate it, but maybe I'd also really like to fuck with the idea of adding a couple of different types of terrain, like rivers, marshes, those sorts of things would be, I think, an engaging thing to do.
Last week, I went and picked up patron of the show, Beast Matt, painted up for pay. I didn't abuse my YouTube privileges here. This isn't just pure currying favor. I commissioned up some 3D printed terrain that I had done, which included a delightful babbling brook, probably like 12 feet of river. And a nice bridge. And last weekend I got to play with the river, and we just kind of had to make up rules for it. And we played it as dangerous terrain and a low linear obstacle.
Ooh, nice.
So
that does actually impact the game quite a bit.
And it was kind of cool because that means that like you're up against the riverbank, so you're defending the low linear obstacle. Like guys coming out of the river, it felt pretty cinematic. It was neat.
Yeah, I think rather than missions, if I was to spend a couple of days, and obviously you and me could get on a call as well, we spend a couple of days, and I know that sounds a bit much, a couple of days, but I feel like just rotate deployment zones a bit. You don't need to add any special rules, just rotate deployment zones a bit and make some interesting maps. And I think already that game is really dynamic. I think you can add a lot. You don't need to have like half your army, a third of your army comes in on a 3-up. That's all nonsense and RNG and silly in my personal opinion. But like I think just a few different dynamic board states so that you could build, like, I'm not saying narrative, but like, you know, you could really crunch some numbers and change some stuff around and give people, I think maps maybe would be even more effective than a mission, and secondaries. A good map set would be pretty hot. So I think that would be a really fun project to work on if you're up for it. But that was my takeaway from this weekend. I was like, you know what? I want those maps to look different because they were so impactful. Deadly Terrain especially. Yeah.
I would say two things. One, in the SBOT, I just stole the mission pack from CCBB, which really only adds, it does add 2 missions, which is a flank attack, which I don't think is that crazily RNG-y. I haven't played it yet. We're going to get a butt ton of feedback on it, though. It's the second round of the Square-based online tournament. hopefully you're able to keep up the pace and play. You'll have to play it. And that's the one where basically a third of your army will either go to the left or the right. So it adds some RNG, but it's not nuts. And I don't know, seems kind of fun. The other one is a modified version of meeting engagement, which is the reserve one. But instead of it being randomly what stuff is delayed, you actually pick. So it's a little bit more controlled. And then obviously there's command and control, which is modified the same way that we do it. That you do it at TSN. So there's a couple of the core rulebook missions. Yes, a lot of them are they don't seem like much fun. It feels like a lot of stuff could be decided very much at the beginning. And despite me loving the randomness of Warhammer, you want to start at least from a similar place and then let the game, then the game shapes the story that happens. You know what I mean? Rather than like from the beginning, you're on the back foot because of some sort of a silly thing. But I have seen also like right when the terrain packs came out, there was some comments about like, well, what about the other potential terrain stuff? Because there are some cool rules in there. Low linear obstacles specifically, I think add some really nice spice. And there's also like being able to occupy a building is interesting. I love that. I know it's a little. I just love the idea. Man. I do love the idea of like hiding out in a building. By the way, if you do bring that in, remember guys, magic missiles don't roll to hit, so you're actually not that safe. I learned that the hard way. So yeah, there's lots of things that could be done that are cool. There's also my second thought is, and I think tip of the cap to the AOS community for doing this. I mean, you guys had to invent your own tournament mission pack. And I think they went out and looked at other game systems. And although things like Ninth Age use a lot of secondaries, they do also have a lot of interesting deployment setups. And I have been getting past, I think, some really cool mission packs that have, maybe there's like lots of secondaries and they do things that are a little more complicated that I don't think we need to layer. But what you were talking about, interesting deployment styles, ways to set up the table. You can take open battle and just like you said, change the deployment and you have a completely different game. And I think doing like what seems like a small touch will inject life into the game, even more so than like in a more elegant way, I think is a better way to put it, than doing some sort of like very complex comp or a whole litany of secondaries. Though I do think there are some cool ideas you can do with secondaries. I think just changing around terrain packs and mission setups, I think would be a really good way to spice things up.
Yeah, I think so as well. And it's not that I think that the game needs it. People are still learning. Might be some people out there like, hey, I've played no games. And Val's story of his friend who played 200 games on TTS, while that's great, I'm always going to think, Warhammer is some miniatures on a table. That's always going to be my brain. Like, it's really good seeing the crunchiness of the rules broken apart, like in that like mind palace online, which is good. But for me, ultimately, it's it's a bunch of miniatures on a table. That'll always be my like get go. And not that the other thing is invalid or less or inferior, but it's I always see it as a supplement and a complement to. It's your dojo before you go to the big fight, in my opinion. Go on.
Yes, I fully agree. By the way, don't know how many games he's repping in real life. I just told you his online. Maybe that was 100 in real life. Let's not say this guy's just he's coming to the tournament. He's bringing ogres, Rob. This guy's your friend, okay? He's doesn't know it, but he's my friend. He probably doesn't know that neither of you know that you're each other's friend. He's playing ogres. And he also scoffed at me when I said, "Can you bring a hard list?" He's like, "Buddy, these ogres are rock hard."
Yeah.
So like he probably would have
pectorials. Big. So
they're thick boys.
Yeah.
So but like the thing I would say that's great about online play is, one, I have already made actual like people, like I know at least 3 new people that are local to me that play this game because of the Square-based online tournament.
We love that.
That's pretty cool. And that might have happened to you too as well. And like 3 people's real close to a one-day event. So 4 people is real close to a one-day event, right? If we all had one more buddy, now we're at 8. So like that's how people are like, this game is dead, no one's playing. This is how you do it. You do it literally by making one friend and then getting another friend.
That's exactly why I'm running that doubles event. Exactly why I'm running that doubles event. Yeah. So that can happen.
And then if you have somehow you got 4 people having a great time, yucking it up, playing fantasy, and you do that anywhere, and someone who's like standing next, like just droning on about 40K looks over and sees, this is how I feel about AOS. Every time I looked over, like, God damn it, why are they having so much fun? What the hell? What's wrong with me? Why am I here and they're over there having fun? And not saying 40K is not fun, guys, but it's a lot sports jerseys. Anyway, that's a ban, by the way. Straight ban. If we ever get to the point where there's teams, no synthetic fabrics allowed. Only natural fibers. Only natural fibers.
I'm going to say it right now. Old World crew.
Rugby jerseys, okay. If you need a sports jersey, you can have a nice cotton
bowling shirts
rugby jersey.
Only.
Come what are you trying to do to us?
Oh, come on, man.
You're gonna make us all wear bowling jerseys? Are you serious?
Jerseys listen, Letterman jackets, bowling jerseys. That's what I'm saying, right? I'm saying like 1950s. Let's get some gel on the hair. Let's slick it back. Yeah, right. Let's roll up our jeans and let's do a couple of fucking
just a fucking milady hat for every single person. Is that what you're trying to do to us?
You're going the wrong way with it. No, you're going the wrong way with it. Like absolutely, I'm not thinking.
Look, I like a bowling shirt too, but I know that like I like my physique, it's kind of, might be the stereotypical bowling shirt guy physique. I can't do the bowling shirt because it's just too on the nose. I love a good Hawaiian shirt.
Same thing. It's the same thing.
A little on the nose.
Why?
I have to work out to wear a Hawaiian shirt. Otherwise, I'm just a cartoon.
Well,
okay?
You're not doing a sports jersey, right?
Well, God, no. Although when I did do sports jersey, we did basketball jerseys with no shirts, which I think that's fair because that's funny. That's obviously funny if you're just wearing a tank top and you have an obvious gut. I think that's funny.
I'm going. If we're gonna do old world teams, I'm going bowling shirt. I think it's the classier choice. I think it's fun. Like I think that looks smarter than the sports jerseys. It's not healthy, and also the bowling shirts are, I feel, designed for Warhammer physiques. That's what they're designed.
This is what I'm saying.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Okay, look, we have so many incredibly talented, skilled people out there. Hop in the comments if you are a fashion designer or some sort of person who makes garments, perhaps a tailor. Let's figure this out. Let's figure out the cool, and again, coolness is a fine line, right? Like you don't want to be trying too hard. We need to just figure out the scientifically perfect model of a Warhammer team shirt. This is a long digression from how you build up a meta, make friends, but nonetheless, that's how you do it. And that's to me. So far, I feel like the virtual world of this has, for me personally, and again, I mean, I'm one of the guys on the show, so like a little bit different for me, but like those of you out there, I hope you are finding people more local to you, or at the very least finding even some people just are like remote. Maybe you found the city where a bunch of people are. Like I think that's some of the benefit of this, because I think we all fundamentally would love to get on a table with cool terrain and all that kind of stuff rather than just be online.
Good. Thanks for the emotional speech at the end, but you're not getting away from the fact that we're doing bowling jerseys.
You can wear all the bowling shirts you want. Yeah. Like I know what did they call you? An Americanophile?
A Meroweeb.
A Meroweeb. There you go. I know you're an Meroweeb, and like I get that you want to cosplay as a good old boy, and that's fine.
The other option is
night with Rob is totally okay with me.
The other option is like black metal jackets, like battle jackets. You know what a battle jacket is?
Now we're getting there. Like the fucking spikes and like a cool picture on the back.
We're saying cut off denim like overcoats, and then just a bunch of patches. We produce some square base patches. We produce a bunch of other patches, and then we just go like real fucking crunchy 80s. Like get a bunch of like John Blanche style art. Get that made into patches. We pack like, what do you reckon? We just give them out. That's our future. Every Squarebase event you go to, you get like a fucking another patch.
Oh man, that is sick idea. Also, great merch idea in our imaginary merch store. Check it out on that website doesn't exist.com.
Check it out soon.com. Anyway, listen, because you got to go, and I want to make sure.
Do I? What time is it?
Well, not yet.
7:44. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
That was me just bringing up. We might do terrain maps, and it was a 15-minute tangent on clothes.
Where am I?
So,
Where am I? What happened?
anyway,
This is top tier content, Rob.
well, listen.
Kids are gonna love it.
I had an event this weekend. That's a real thing. Like
That is how you keep spinning us down these swirling spirals, is by saying all you have done this show is said I had an event this weekend. It's like the beginning of a good bit, and then we've turned it into something. So what have you actually been trying to say about your event this whole time?
Well, number one, it was great, and I had a great time.
Sure, it was lovely.
I'm going to start off with a low light, actually, in that I don't think I've been a very good TO. And no, that's not right. Not TO, but like I think the TO has been fine. I think a shout out to Andy this weekend who helped me out because I was able to. Andy covered me while I recorded a couple of games, which was good.
Yeah.
But my takeaway for this weekend is I want to spend more time at the table. I just one of those things I don't know about anyone else, and if anyone else has run an event or if you've been to an event, what I like to do is I'm just like, there's your tables, there's your games, off you go play. I go around every 15, 20 minutes. I see if anyone wants a drink because we do table service. And then I'm like, how's the game going? What's going on?
It's a free drink, by the way, guys. It's a free drink, beer and pops.
A bit and pops, yeah. And then sodas, soft drinks, whatever they're called. And then I was like, or apparently according to my Scottish girlfriend, juice. Everything is juice.
I thought they just called it Brie. Brie. Sorry, continuing. Yes.
Yeah. So
do you like to be at the tables?
Yeah. Well, I like to like pop in, but what I don't like to do is like sit at the table for a couple of hours. And actually, there was a couple of games this weekend which I actually would have loved to have sat at the table and just watched. But next time I have an event for Old World, I've got 2 events in August that are completely sold out, which is nuts.
Hell yes.
Which is nuts. Another one in October that's almost sold out as well. So it's crazy. So
and those are your next, by the way, those are the next ones coming up?
No, there's another
Or do you have more?
We have the doubles event in between then as well. So which is all really exciting, but I think I'd like to just spend a bit more time at the table, and maybe it takes just a lot of TOing or like a lot of running events to just kind of really get that. I kind of like do all the drinks, organize the event, and then I'm just kind of like at a bit of a loose end, but not answering some questions, popping around, make sure everyone's okay. But I think next time I'm just gonna just pitch up, because one of the things that I did do, like when I recorded the games, and if no one knows how that works, is I was just sat at a computer, just kind of like switching between all the cameras, and I got to listen to the game. It was quite fun actually. Like so I guess I kind of did sit at the table, but I really enjoyed just sitting and listening to the matches. They were really fun, especially like how communicative they were. I thought that was really good as well. I recorded a game between Ollie and Jack. Which was they were just really communicative. They were like, hey, this is how this works. Hey, this. Oh, by the way, like Oliver, especially at one point, like I remember saying to Jack, oh, by the way, if that's there, I'm going to be able to overrun into that. And then Jack was like, oh, cool, thank you very much. It was just really nice to see. And I think I'd get a bit more feel for the armies if I'm running the event, because running events is 2 days of my time, 2 days out of my week. Yeah. So it's 2 days I can't play. Then events are normally when people play.
Or, do normal stuff, like be a person. Yeah.
Long gone as an option. But like,
it's a 7-day work week for Rob. He kind of wishes there was an 8th day. But anyway.
I do wish there was an 8th day. That would be so good.
So you could work more.
So I could work more. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my big takeaway. But the weekend was really fun. We had an Empire Civil War. 3 of our armies were Empire this weekend.
Which means they obviously won.
No, unfortunately not. They did not win. We did have, and I'm hoping, I've asked him if he'll do an interview with me, so I'm going to put on the screen for people to see. We did have Richie go 4 and a draw this week, which is great. So with his Dwarven army, but he also won Best Sports, and he also won Coolest Army and Best Painted, which is because we didn't have the full 24, so I didn't do a best overall. But Richie's also the former winner of 2 best overalls at 2 of the other events. Yeah. So he's an absolute clean sweep demon. in my opinion.
He's
And
full package.
he's-
Lovely man.
He's the full package. And he was running dwarfs, so I'll just read the list out for everybody. So he was running Dwarven Mountain Holds, the mighty host of kARAK dRAK. So he's got, and all of his characters are named.
Low cap.
He's got Thane Snorri Pig Rider, who's his battle standard bearer with the Master Rune of Grungy and a Rune of Battle on some shield bearers and the Master Rune of Gromril. Then Engineer Angry Amy, which I'm almost certain is named after his partner.
Okay.
Jade Forkbeard.
We're going to 3 weekends away. Like what? It's a 4-hour drive for him. Is he in the south?
Yeah, 4-hour drive. But he always normally comes back with, a home appliance. So that helps.
That's true. Actually, he has to win. He's playing for the relationship. He's got to win.
Then Dane Forkbeard, Anvil of Doom. Forkbeard, sorry. So he's got an Anvil of Doom in there. Then 17 Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, heavy armor. They're drilled. And they've got veteran. 16 Rangers with throwing axes, crossbows, and great weapons. 13 Iron Drakes. With
Ironbreakers.
13 Ironbreakers, apologies. Then he's got a Grudge Thrower, another Grudge Thrower, then 10 Iron Drakes, 10 Iron Drakes, and 5 Iron Drakes. And it just sounds like almost nothing. It really does. And everything just
He's
goes...
juiced up his Iron Drakes. Those were 3 units of 5 when I first saw him running this list. I do recall.
Yeah, and he's also gone for those like double Grudge Throwers as well to like make those units. I think he's given up on the idea of the dwarfs going to them, and instead he's decided I'm going to make those units come to me. And those Iron Drakes feel really good.
Yeah. Some of the best shooting that they have for sure. You see them a lot in lists. As sort of like the option for shooting. Of course, also the Rangers with crossbows and the throwing weapons. They're super versatile. They can scout. There's a lot of nice little techie pieces in there, including Angry Amy.
Yeah, a lot of techie pieces. I think I'm going to try and give Richie an interview because he's played now 3 GTs. So I'd really like to get like his kind of thoughts about playing the game, like especially running dwarfs. I think there's a lot of dwarf fans out there who'd be really excited to hear his thoughts on playing dwarfs, the strengths and weaknesses. I think that would be really fun. To see what he thinks. Also, there was
as much as I love the sound of my own voice, I would love for us to start talking to some faction stands who've been out there like playing a lot. Like Morpheus, I would love to talk to him about Empire, not just for the fans. Mostly for me.
Just so you all know, it's mainly for me.
It's so I will take notes on that one, but not for the show. That will be for me. But yeah, no, I think that's an idea we've kicked around. We're coming up with some show ideas, but I think like a game of the week or like a player of the week, especially someone from the TSN or maybe events that we've been to, I think is a really great idea.
I agree. There was also some, as always great hobby. I particularly enjoyed this model from Sammy, which is his.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. That's really good. It's Orc War Boss, but it's obviously using the Sigmar kit, which I think is good. And also shout out to this, which is Pip's old school Lizardman army, which is just super good.
Man, that's wonderful.
He didn't bring the rollout mat. We ran a turnip event, Turnip 28. We ran a Napoleonic war game with vegetables.
Cool glass of turnip 28.
Yeah, recently, and one of the players was like, "Oh, Rob, you should get these like rollout moss mats," and I was like, "Oh, what?" And then I ordered one. I was like, fuck it, I'll give it a try. Because it's like a 3x3 skirmish game. Yeah. And then I was like, I've put it down and I'm like, I reckon we can play Warhammer on this. You know, like those old grass mats, but the next step up.
But it's with the modern flocking. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm going to try a 6x4. I'm going to see what happens. But anyway, and I think Pip's army looked particularly good on that. So yeah, there were some really fun armies there. The Empire army looked really good. I thought like the different Empire armies looked really nice as well. Rebecca's army was really good. So hobby really.
Got
high.
Any more? Any more picks?
I can definitely get a few more picks. Do you want to? Jack does not know how to display his army. So like it always looks rubbish. He just puts it on a tray. So let me show you this Empire army.
Because it is a nice. It's very dark, but it uses a lot of cool models. It's very themed.
Yeah, it uses all like a lot of the AOS models, so to put on, which I think is really good. Like, so that you can see it there now for everyone at home, if you're interested. And then what else did we end up with? We had some Sweet Tomb Kings. They were really nice. I really liked the really brash, bright Orcs and Goblins army. I thought that was really fun as well. But yeah, I think the Lizardman Felts really stand out to me. Ed's army was also super cute. So the Nomadic War was really fun.
Oh, let's see that.
Yeah, and then he had some kit bashes here. He's using Big Pig, so the Moor Grunter or here, and that's his orc Black Orc boss on a chariot.
Okay, that's it. That's a really awesome use of a model. Also, his chariots look like they're using like orc truck wheels.
Yes,
from 40K. That's so sweet.
Absolutely, they do use that. They are very interested using Gore Grunters. I think it's like 3 different game systems kits. It's like a bit of 40K kit, a bit of AC kit, and a bit of Old World.
Yeah. Oh man, those are fabulous. That's really great. And also, what an actual good use for the back end of those crappy old trucks.
That no one wants. Yeah.
Yeah. That is that's a great Nomadic War army. I really love that.
Yeah. And then
you know what, like it does make like honestly like making it hard to get the models, and then also the models that you can get maybe are being a little bit derpy is a bit of a feel bad, but also it does open up, like it gives you such license to do cool shit like this. So like it's a real, I don't know, it's a real hobbyist game in a lot of ways right now because of the fact that you do have to, if you want something if you don't like the models they have, or if you can't get the models they have, you got to get creative, and this is a wicked way to do that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And so, yeah, I've seen the hobby like really explode over the past few weeks. So I've really, really enjoyed that. There's been some absolutely stunning armies. I think people have really experimented putting stuff on the tabletop. So that's been really fun as well.
How did he find his Nomadic Walk? Because I very half-assedly took a shot at it, and it felt very hard to do. It felt like a very difficult army, but you could see potential for sure.
Well, he hates running through trees. Let me tell you that. Hates it. Absolutely hates running through trees. Was my experience. But that's one of those things I was talking about. I would have liked to have spent more time at his table, and some of the tables, seeing how some of these games went. And but he has his own YouTube channel, so we can. So this is Ed's army. And he has a Old World channel where he definitely will be talking about his experiences running it.
Oh, that's 6++. Yes.
6++.
He's also in the SBOT. That's right. Okay, cool. Actually, this was one of the videos I didn't watch, so I will just watch that video.
Yeah. So shout out
no need
to
to interact with him. Shout out, Ed.
Yeah. So like,
actually, yeah. If you want an unbiased take on the TSN events, I think Ed's done a couple of reviews. There's a couple of reviews of your events floating around.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that seem to be quite. I'm just gonna assume they're complimentary. You know, I'm just gonna say that.
I mean,
I have no idea.
I'm gonna hope, like with fingers crossed. That's what I'm gonna do. Fingers crossed. But yeah, so the event was good. The games were great. I think there were some really interesting interactions. I think Tomb Kings are still just super good. Great casting, obviously. I think that's really interesting. Empire now seem to be this kind of cool kid thing to do. Multiple Empire lists doing their thing. Chaos still out there, and dwarfs as well. But surprisingly, like you say, wood elves not really in the mix. I haven't seen ogres apart from once. Chaos dwarfs not been as much, which brings me on to the fact my Chaos dwarfs arrived.
They came. No, not that one. Yes, that one. Yes.
So yeah,
that's fantastic. Are they in good shape? Have you opened them? Have you had a chance?
I have opened them. And they're all now safely tucked away in a box with plans to rebase them. Well, they're already unbased, so to base them on some square bases, start playing with my Chaos Dwarfs, which is fun as well.
So how are the feels? Like, did you record your opening? Did we get the unboxing you promised?
I did not record the opening because there was too many feelings. It was too many feelings. Seeing the old guys return. If anyone doesn't know, Val helped broker a deal so that I got my old Chaos Dwarf army back, which was really sweet. And I was like, oh, this guy.
That's really that's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, that's really really great. So are you going to be testing out some Chaos Dwarfs online?
I'm still gonna probably play ogres online. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe play Chaos Dwarfs because I think that will end up in quicker games, which is probably what I really need from those online matches. But then ogres feels like something more where I know you can be really precise on Warhol. If anything, you can be more precise on Warhol than you can be on the tabletop. But I feel like movement stuff feels like something I want to do on the table versus. Just versus on the computer. I'm happy to just sit in a corner on the computer and just launch Death Streaker rockets at people. Absolutely.
I just need you to actually play a game. Just play a game, and then let's see how you feel about it. Because I know you're reticent, and I get it. I get why. I get it. I do. But for me, it is good. It is good practice, and I know you like perfect practice, Rob.
I do.
I know you like perfect practice.
Makes permanent, definitely. So I got the Chaos Dwarfs, super excited about that. And the event this weekend was, as always, excellent. Had some really good conversations as well. I had a really nice chat with Pip over the weekend, Jack, Richie. There were some really, really good matches. I got to meet some new people as well, which is also super fun. I got Josh came back again. There was just some good matches, and I think that's my big takeaway at the moment is there's still people learning. There was still a lot of this is my first event or only my second event. I'm still learning, and the energy that came with that, where the players were trying to what we call maintain the board state. They were trying to stay I don't know what the rule is for that. Let's go get Rob. I came over. We had a chat about it. We tried to work out what that thing was. I think that's really healthy, and there are a lot of crunchy interactions which people can get wrong very easily.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to war games being I still actually just been seeing the whack thing a little less in our Discord, which I appreciate it. I think it's the only thing I've banned. We should get the bot to find all references to whack, and just give out cards. And the reason why is because to me, wargaming fundamentally is inherently competitive because especially the way Warhammer's set up, it's me versus you, and there's a winner and a loser. That's how the game is set up. It's fundamentally competitive. However, it requires collaboration on the game state, right? So and that's what I've been seeing in my games in real life, in my games online, is a lot of working together to make sure that both you and I agree on where things are right now and what potential interactions are. And I hope that spirit stays and gets even more, because that's how you make a really thrilling scene, is by making, if there are two people at the table doing their best to get it right, and working together to get it right, you're gonna get a better game every time, rather than a gotcha moment or whatever. And you're always going to learn something new. So I'm so happy to hear that you're seeing that still. I'm still seeing that a lot. Not saying there aren't feel bad moments out there, and people who maybe don't have the social skills to do this, but for those people out there who are getting games in, that's what I've been seeing. I've been seeing that everywhere, which is great.
Yeah, I've been seeing that too, and actually supremely exciting. That's my takeaway, from the seventh event.
That was one of our big worries. That was one of our big worries, was that maybe with an older, a crowd of people coming from maybe a scene of a different time, that wouldn't be the case, and it totally has been the case. So that's I don't know, a credit to people trying to figure this out and playing this game.
Yeah, definitely. And if anything, I am more committed to the old world now from these events than maybe if I'd have had some bad experiences with the old world events or the players or something, I think maybe. But actually, the players are giving me so much renewed motivation every event I do. And I guess that would probably be the same for every game that I played as well, if I was playing games at the weekends versus running the events. But I really want to work really hard now in the next few months on upgrading our terrain, so our terrain feels more thematic. Because we had to make 12 tables really quickly. I think the next thing I really want to work on is cool, you're playing on the not physically identical, but effectively identical terrain set as any other table. But it just, you feel like
thematically nicer.
Yeah. but thematically it's a bit nicer. I think we could work on that, and I'm quite excited about doing that. I think there'll be some really, really fun stuff. I'd love to do like a Tomb King board. I'd love to do like a Bretonnian board. Like a Dwarven board would be so fucking good. And like you said, if we start doing, that'll give me an opportunity also to be like, okay, cool. Should I add some low linear objects in? Should I add like some other little bits in? I think that gives that opportunity, and I think that'll really change the game state as well. It's just whenever I do that, I've got to change 12 boards, not one board. And that's quite interesting. And maybe that's something the Warhol could do. Change up the maps on there and then try those out. I think that'd be fun. That'd be a good testing ground for stuff like that.
Like right now, the train maps that you came up with are the default maps for Warhol. So like I'm sure Hugo, and you're able to like lay things out in Warhol and like add different assets. So yeah, it's a great place. That's also a good use of TTS. Again, it's a good place to experiment. So not a bad idea.
I don't think so either. But yeah, great event. Again, Richie just seems to be the absolute king. Like I think it's fair to say he feels like he's the king of England right now. Like with for Old World,
he's eating like a king. So what appliances has he won now? He won
a George Foreman, and he won a Ninja blender.
Okay,
I think is what he won. Or maybe an entire air fryer. I can't remember. But the long story short is, 3 best overalls from 7 events. It's pretty stunning as a follow up. So I think he should be really proud of himself. And then just looking forward to all the future events. And I'd like to make some changes both on the tabletop and in the event structure as well. I think that'd be really fun. I'd like to get the lists in a bit earlier so I could do a bit of pre-recording about the lists. I think that would start being quite an interesting thing to do now that I haven't wanted to do any of that stuff up until now because I haven't felt that people would be nailing those things. But I think we're getting to the stage where we can start saying, do you know what? The event scene is at least we're past the beginner stage. Like, but we're not even at the 6-month mark, right? So that might be a bit keen.
And we got 3 released books, and we haven't had a significant rebalance, and on and on and on. But that doesn't mean that people aren't, like worthy of discussion. And even in the last couple of, like even in the month of May, there were a ton of GTs that kind of passed by without comment by us. That one was even there was a 40-person event. I think it had some weird missions, but the Richmond Open, I want to say, was 40 people. It's the biggest I've seen personally so far. Very limited looking. So if there's a larger than 48-person event out there, that's great. I think that's getting to be about Goldilocks size for me personally. I'd love to see like 32-person events, and then just lots of those. I would like to a 32-person event in every garage. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
But like if they get bigger than that, that's cool too. But yeah, there's I don't know, lots of stuff happening. I think so. I think it behooves us to start calling that out. I would love to shout out if we are starting to wind down. I made a note. I wanted to call out an event. If you could vamp for me for half a second, it's in Southern California.
That's easy peasy. That's easy peasy. I just want to thank everyone that's been to my event so far, and everyone who's been watching these YouTube videos, listening to these podcasts, or supports us on Patreon. Because it really feels like, and I've said this multiple times on the show, but I'll say it again, really does feel like the Old World is at this kind of like, not proto stage, because I think it's done. Like, it launched. Everyone put their roots in immediately. Like, they were like everyone kicked a deck chair, sat down, and were like, we're ready. Okay, we're here to stay. And now they're like, oh, so now the Old World, SDS department are starting to be like, right, time to cook up some grub for these guys. What are they going to want? Are they going to want halfling armies? Are they going to want like all of the armies we see from Total War? Are they going to want Tamrakhan to come back? What are we going to see? So I think we got a really exciting like hobby that is going to go on for years and years until we're in retirement homes, basically.
Some of us already are, but hey, that's okay. And I echo that. And you know what? Another way to forward the hobby is I found it. Southern California, folks. Ooh. It's the Old World Legends. And the reason I want to shout them out is they have room for up to 44 players. It's June 22nd to 23rd. I think they're somewhere around half capacity right now, so it's already a good size event. But that's in SoCal, and you can check it out at oldworldlegends.org. They also have Discord, a local community. So if you're in California, check them out. I did promise I would plug it because it looked like they put a lot of effort into their trophies and their terrain as well. He's been giving me an update. Okay, I get really pretty pictures on a semi-regular basis from one of the organizers, Mike, and looks like there's definitely a lot of passion down there. So worth checking out if you're in the neighborhood.
Oh, that's adorable. That's absolutely adorable. More events. Let us know in the comments or reach out to us if you do have events. We'll try and shout them out as much as possible. Maybe one of those things that we could do is just start the show, just kick out a bunch of events that got lined up. Like I've been threatening to make a calendar for a long time. Maybe I'll just add that in my little job list today. Who knows? But loads going on, and I think I'm excited to deep dive some lists sometime soon. Like we said, a couple of interviews, but I think very soon I want to start talking about Empire. Those gun lists will be very interesting to see produced and put on the table. And start threatening those dragons. Feels like an easy win. Pick up a couple of big points. We'll have to see.
But if it happens to you, be like us. Keep playing, because holy crap, that one was tight. even though it felt like I won immediately. I definitely didn't win until the last dice roll. So that's 2 reasons why I love Warhammer the Old World.
So in between now and next week, you're going to be doing a lot of S-spotting, correct?
We got some S-spotting to do and a real-life tournament at, once again,
Planet X Games.
Mississauga. No, I think Planet X was the comic book store in my neighborhood, so he couldn't name it Planet X.
Oh.
It's X Planet. It's X Planet. It's as if he, like Elon Musk, started a hobby store. It's like, okay, it's got to have X. Planet X, taken. Okay, then. X Planet?
Plan X et.
Triple X. Just triple X on. Nope, that's not going to work. Just spitballing here. Lionel has also, Rob. I don't know if he hit his midlife crisis, but next time you're in Toronto, I have to take you to his place, because he didn't get a convertible. He got a streaming setup and he's spent some coin on his streaming rig, and it's very pretty to look at.
Oh, so, nice.
You'll have to come and inspect him. He literally just the rig. Maybe he over budgeted a little bit and he couldn't afford cameras. So he's actually he had to borrow my old PTZs. So he's got those running, but he's going to try and get into the streaming game. I wish him all the luck in that endeavor, because it's hard. Maybe there'll be some record. Maybe he'll have his act together. You'll be able to tune in live to the one dayer that I'm playing in on Saturday. We'll see.
Yeah, I could. So I think the big sold out events that we've got in August, I think we'll try and live stream. Now that's a spicy take. That requires quite a few people, like little bit hands on deck versus recording. But I think we'll try and live stream those matches or those events here. So let us know in the comments below if that's something you would tune in for, because there's no real point doing it if no one would tune in for it. But I think Old World works quite well from like a top down, especially. I think that could be quite engaging. It'd be some really fun stuff. So we could make a bit of a media circus around those 2 August events and have a bit of fun with it. If anyone's interested, we'll have to see. Let people know what they think. So anyway, let us know what you think. And thanks again for tuning into the Squarebase show. It's been brilliant. Thanks to Val. Thanks to the listeners. And thanks to everyone on the Squarebase Patreon. Couldn't do it without you.
Thanks to Rob.
Oh,
definitely couldn't do it without you.
Thumbs. Had a great time. Loved it. Really, really fun. I think I'm just really, really confident about the Old World at the minute. I'm really enjoying it. So, and I don't want to. I'll keep this till the end of the show. Feels like a war game, and there doesn't seem to be many of those war games left. That's all I'm gonna say.
We got a war game on our hands.
We got a war game here, fellas.
And
ladies and MBs, obviously. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Val, any other shout-outs before we go?
I don't think so. Shout out to my new friends and the friends that hopefully continue to meet. It's been a lot of fun. Shout out to the 113, actually, I counted on the spreadsheet, people in the Squarebase online tournament. Remember, lists will be due on Saturday. Your first pairing for the actual big show, if you have completed your exhibition match, will be posted, hopefully no later than 12 GMT on next Monday. and we'll be off to the races. You'll have 1 week to get her done, and I wish everyone the best of luck.
Well, everyone have a great time there. I'm excited to see the results. Val?
There's a good list show. We could do the SBOT list show.
We absolutely should. Big question from me to you, though. Which faction, without even looking at all the lists, which faction is going to take it out, do you think? What's the best meta faction, in your opinion?
Oh, no. Best meta faction?
Ooh.
Probably Vampire. It's either Vampire Counts or Team Kings. Undead are pretty ridiculous. Let's go Vampire Counts.
Okay, what else?
Woodies.
Gonna see if it happens. Gonna see if it happens. Okay, hot takes all the time. But here we go. Thanks very much for listening. See you soon. Bye.